Mike Fagan was known as the King of Swing and had quite possibly one of the smoothest styles we've ever seen on the PBA Tour. The combination of his extremely high backswing, but the silky smoothness he brought with it, saw him have good success on the tour, and he made the game look effortless. He's a multi-time major winner, with his last title and major coming at the beginning of 2015 at the World Championship, but shortly after that, he left the tour. In this video, I'm going to be looking at Fagan's career from the very start and looking at his rise in the game and why he left the tour in his prime. This is what happened to Mike Fagan. Fagan joined the tour in the 02-03 season and would quickly make his TV debut in 2003, although he lost to a tough opponent in Chris Barnes in the semi-final of the Empire State Open. In 2004, he had a top 5 finish at the Medford Open, but in 2006, he had a great year, easily his best so far. He had 4 top 5 finishes in total. No title came for him, but it was a huge jump. His next big success came in 2008 when he won a PBA doubles event to give him his first title. He was partnered with Danny Wiseman and they won the title in a very close title match. It made Fagan a PBA champion, but of course, he wanted to win a singles title. But what it did do is give him that experience of winning on TV, and the following year, 2009, saw him come incredibly close. He finished runner-up 3 times that year and also had a top 5 finish at the Plastic Ball Championship. In 2010 though, he finally broke through and won his first singles title at the Dick Weber Open, beating legend Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the final. He also had 2 other top 5 finishes in 2010 and had quickly become one of the more consistent players on tour that seemed poised to start winning regularly. He would finally break through to win his first major at the 2012 USBC Masters. He won against Chris Barnes, overcoming a 30-pin deficit after 5 frames. After losing to Barnes in his TV debut, he got revenge here, and this was a huge milestone in his career, and it was very well deserved. Year after year, he was just improving and continuing to put in many great performances on tour. Just 1 month later, he had an opportunity to win a second consecutive major in the US Open. This was the famous Pete Weber "Who Do You Think You Are, I Am" telecast, where Weber managed to strike on his final ball of the 10th frame to win by just a single pin. This could have easily gone Fagan's way, and it was a really great showing from him. It's just that Weber was too good that day. Fagan did all he could to force Weber to show up, and Weber just did what he does best. 2 years later though, Fagan would win his second major and 5th title at the World Championship, and he continued to regularly make telecasts. Fagan also had success on the European Tour, winning 5 titles between 2005 and 2012. This included the Brunswick Euro Challenge, which he won twice, once in 2009 and once in 2012. The Euro Challenge was a PBA event in 2012, so that counted as a title for him, but it wasn't classified as a PBA event when he won in 2009. Fagan had carved out a great career up to this point, and it seemed like he was just going to keep on collecting titles. However, in a move that probably shocked many, Fagan announced in 2015 that he would be reducing his appearances on the PBA Tour in order to pursue his MBA. He entered just 3 events in 2016 and did not make a single appearance in 2017. So Fagan officially left the tour at age 36. Now, bowling is a unique sport. Age doesn't really matter. Bowlers can remain at the top level well into their 40s, and we've seen players like Walter Ray, Pete Weber and Norm Duke remain very competitive right up until their 50s. This is unheard of in pretty much all other sports, but in bowling it's very different. So although Fagan was 36 when he sort of ended up leaving the tour, he was still really in his prime and had a number of years left in him where he could have been at the top winning titles. Clearly he retired in his prime, and it poses a question. Why did he retire so soon? Well, initially it was because he was studying for his MBA. So in order to focus on his studies, the intention was to compete part-time on the PBA. But life just obviously led him down a very different direction, because it wasn't long before he ended up becoming the director of business development for a company that owns bowling centers in Minnesota. Initially, his intentions were that he intended to play part-time on the tour, but that didn't end up happening for very long at all. Basically just 1 year, and then he was off the tour. But it does pose the question of how many titles he could have won if he had stayed on the tour. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but I think it's fair to say that Fagan would have achieved a lot more if he had stayed. I'm almost certain he would have added at least a couple of more majors. He currently has 5 titles, but given his talent, I think he could have easily doubled that by now. Another question is, could he ever make a return to the PBA? He's now 45 years old, and if we're honest, I think a return does seem very unlikely. He gave an interview a few years ago where he explained about his life and what he's up to. He didn't rule out a return, but we're now sort of 4 or 5 years on from that, and there are still no signs. He's now 45 years of age, so realistically, is he going to be able to come back onto the tour at 45 after being out of bowling for so long and realistically compete? It's possible. Is it likely? Probably not. At this point, it seems that Fagan is content with where his life is right now and the things that he's doing. And obviously, without asking him directly, we don't know exactly what is in his head, whether he has had inklings and thoughts about joining the tour again. But I think at this point, it seems like he is pretty much done for good. And it could even be possible that at this point, he simply has no interest in returning to bowling, which is understandable. Although I will say this, at 45 years of age, maybe in 3 years, 4 years time, as he gets closer to 50, he might start to get the urge to give the PBA 50 tour a try. I think that's a possibility. Like I said, I personally, at this point, think it would be unlikely to see him on the main tour, but you never know. Maybe when he gets nearer to 50, the bowling bug might take over and he might find he is compelled to give it a try on the PBA 50 tour, especially now that the PBA 50 tour is being shown on TV once again in 2026. Now, obviously, it all depends how that goes, whether that's going to be a long-term thing, we don't know. But if it starts to get coverage each year, maybe that could tempt him. Who knows? But I think it would be more likely to see him on the 50 tour than it would be the main tour at this point. Fagan was a really, really well-loved and respected player. I think that's the key. I loved what he did. You know, he went about his business. He was a very, very good player that I think was respected on the tour. He always seemed very professional in the way that he set about on the lanes, and his career is a bit of a what if, and he said that himself. You know, it is a what if. And for someone so talented, it is a shame that we don't get to see him competing on the PBA tour. Many fans would love to see him once again. But like I said, this is just one of those cases where life took him in a different direction. And it appears that he is content with that and that he's happy with how things have panned out. I think he's probably very grateful for the time he had on the PBA tour. And you know what? When you look back on his career, he certainly has achieved a lot. And being a multiple major winner, you know, is a fantastic achievement. I miss watching his game and seeing him on telecasts. And yeah, I think probably the best we could hope for is a bit of a shock return, but to the PBA 50 tour. And so that will bring us to an end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Let me know how many titles you think Mike Fagan could have won if he had stayed on the PBA tour. If you have enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss any of my future videos. I hope you're all enjoying this What Happened To video series. I've got some other players that I'm planning to do this type of video for, so keep an eye out on my channel for those. They'll be coming your way very, very soon. Well, that's going to do it from me for today, and as always, thank you bowling fans, and see you all next time.